Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Archie's out and about. Going to do something a bit different today. We're going to do a countdown of my top 20 British sitcoms. So come on, get comfy and join me for the ride. At number 20, we have After Henry, a gentle comedy that ran from 1988 to 1992, starring Prunella Scales as Sarah France, the domineering mother Eleanor, played by Joan Sanderson, and Janine Wood playing the daughter Claire. The comedy is about Sarah's struggle with day-to-day life after the death of her husband Henry. It is still a good show to watch, with a brilliant performance by Joan Sanderson, who was famous from the show Please Sir. At 19, we have Boomers, this largely forgotten sitcom that ran for 2 series and 13 episodes between 2014 and 2016. Following three 60-something-year-old couples who live in the fictional town of Fernmouth, starring a decent cast of Russ Abbott, Stephanie Beacham, Philip Jackson, Paula Wilcox, Alison Steadman and James Smith. This does make for some quite decent TV viewing and is currently being repeated on Netflix. At 18 we have Are You Being Served? Running from 1972 to 1983, David Croft and Jeremy Lloyd's Are You Being Served followed the lives of staff members at a tired department store, Grace Brothers. The sitcom seems quite dated now, but still holds up to good family viewing, starring John Inman as the real star of the show, Mr. Humphreys, but is supported by a very good cast, including Molly Sugden, Trevor Bannister and Frank Thornton, to name a few. At number 17 we have Open All Hours. Not a great favourite of mine, but it did star two of my favourites, the great Ronnie Barker and Davy Jason. Running from 1976 to 1985, it followed a miserly shopkeeper, Arkwright, and his lovelorn nephew, Granville, in the day-to-day running of their shop. At number 16 we've got The Peep Show. Running from 2003 to 2015, this show was brilliant in the early 2000s, following the lives of two hopeless losers who happened to share a flat. David Mitchell as the socially awkward Mark, and Robert Webb as the slacker Jez, who believes he will become a famous musician and women will always want him. Definitely worth a watch. At number 15 we've got Heidi High. Another Croft and Lloyd outing that feels quite dated now, but is still a decent watch, following the entertainment staff for Maplin's Holidays, running from 1981 to 1988, starring Paul Shane, Simon Cadell, Ruth Maddock and Sue Pollard. It was a decent, wholesome family sitcom. At number 14, The In-Betweeners. This show ran between 2008 and 2010. Hard to imagine, isn't it? This outing was one of the most successful sitcoms of the 21st century, spinning off two films following the lives of four loser teenagers. The series stars Simon Bird as Awkward Will, James Buckley as Fantasist Jay, Joe Thomas as Hopeless Romantic Simon, and Blake Harrison as the Gormless Neil. It's a very good show, very funny and quite cringeworthy, but definitely worth a watch. Number 13 we've got Some Mothers Do Have 'Em, another from the 1970s, running between 1973 and 1978. Michael Crawford is brilliant as the hapless Frank Spencer, as well as Michelle Dotrice as long-suffering wife Betty. Frank Spencer is hopeless, cannot hold down a job, and destroys everything he touches. It's very enjoyable, and just to remind you that Michael Crawford did all his own stunts. At number 12 we have Bottom, starring the wonderful Rick Mayall alongside his real-life best mate, the great Ade Edmondson. They had previously starred together in The Young Ones. Bottom followed the lives of two sad, perverted flatmates, Richard and Eddie Hitler. A violent slapstick comedy, it ran for 4 years between 1991 and 1995. Number 11 we have Just Good Friends, running from 1983 to 1986, starring Paul Nicholas as Vince and Jan Francis as Penny. They are a couple who meet again 5 years after he jilted her at the altar. Written by John Sullivan of Only Fools and Horses fame, it still stands up as a very enjoyable watch. At number 10 we have Whatever Happened to the Likely Lads, running between 1973 and 1974, and was a follow-on from the 60s sitcom The Likely Lads. It follows on from their lives, with James Bolam and Rodney Bewes star as the two friends Terry and Bob. Terry is just out of the army and out of sorts. He has become a lazy layabout while Bob tries to do the right things, have a job, a wife, but feels like he'd rather be doing what Terry's doing. At number 9 we have The Royal Family, running between 1998 and 2000, and written by and starring Craig Cash and Caroline Aherne. The Royal Family was basically filmed in a living room, but somehow it worked. An excellent cast and well-rounded characters made the audience feel like they could well be watching their own families. Number 8 we have On the Buses, a 1970s phenomenon that ran from 1969 to 1973, spanning 8 series and 3 films. It starred Reg Varney as Stan, a 40-something who still lives at home with his mum, sister and her husband Arthur. Stan's best friend is Jack, and their main objective in life is to make Inspector Blake's life a misery. At number 7 we have Blackadder. It ran from 1983 to 1989 and spanned 4 series. Each series was in a different time period, starring Rowan Atkinson as the anti-hero Edmund Blackadder and Tony Robinson as a dog's body Baldrick. It was a very enjoyable show with an ending that would make you laugh and cry. At number 6, Fawlty Towers. It ran between 1975 and 1979, spanning 2 series, starring John Cleese as Madman Hotel owner Basil Fawlty, Prunella Scales as lazy wife Sybil. The show mainly centred on disasters within the hotel and awkward guests. Basil Fawlty really hated most of his guests, except the Major, who he thought brought the place a touch of class. At number 5 we have Still Game, pretty much the most successful Scottish comedy since Rhapsody Nesbitt. Still Game ran for 9 series, and the show was about 2 friends, Jack and Victor, who live in a Craig Lang tower block. The show also shows you their friends, and they drink in the local pub, The Clansman. It is a very funny comedy. At number 4 we have Father Ted. Running from 1995 to 1998, the show centred on Ted Crilley, a priest banished to the strange island of Craggy Island for financial irregularities. Ted dreams of being in casinos and living the high life in Monte Carlo. Instead he is trapped with 2 other priests, Dougal, who is a child in an adult's body, and the aggressive drunk Father Jack. This is Ireland's best ever comedy sitcom. Number 3, Red Dwarf. Running from 1988 to 1999, it has gained a cult following. The series follows Dave Lister, who awakens after 3 million years in stasis to find he is the last human being alive. But he is not alone. He has Rimmer, a hologram form of his crewmate Arnold Rimmer, and the cat, a life form that had evolved from Lister's pregnant cat. Later on they find a droid called Crichton, who joins the crew. Even after all these years, I still really enjoy watching this. It's very witty and very clever. And number 2, Porridge. It ran for 3 series between 1974 and 1977, following old lag Norman Stanley Fletcher, who is now incarcerated in Slade Prison. He becomes a sort of father figure to cellmate Godber. Ronnie Barker and Richard Beckinsale play their parts brilliantly, and are supported by a stellar performance by Fulton Mackay as a hard-faced Scottish screw, Mackay. Number 1, it just had to be, didn't it? Only Fools and Horses. It ran between 1981 and 1991, but had 16 specials that took it up to 2003. Davy Jason stars as down on his luck market trader Del Boy, who lives with his kid brother Rodney and their useless granddad, later to be their jinx Uncle Albert. It has become synonymous with English culture and is worldwide famous. Jason and Lyndhurst are supported by a great cast, including Buster Merrifield, Ken MacDonald, Tessa Pete Jones, Paul Barber, and John Challis, who I had the pleasure of meeting years ago. This really has now become an English institution. Right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that countdown. I couldn't fit everything in there, as you know. Like, I know some people probably say, "Where's a low? Where's keeping up appearances and so on?" But I could only fit 20 in there, and there's a lot of them, isn't there? But I do like those programs, by the way. So you know, it's not like I hate them or anything. They are alright, but they're outside the top 20. Just it took me quite a long time to put that together. I got to be honest, but please, guys, if you like what I do, I know I'll try to move around, but that's what comes under the interesting things banner. So, yeah, if you like what I do, please hit that subscribe button, give me a like, give me a comment. I appreciate it. I appreciate all your support, the ones that come back and keep watching my videos, leaving me comments and so on. So I appreciate all that. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video. So I'll say goodbye, and I will see you on the next one, whenever that will be. Bye for now.